Okay, a few tips and tricks as I'm figuring out this LG 8000 bearing replacement. There are other videos on the web that show how to disassemble the machine. I'll probably add a few comments when I go over to the machine a little later in terms of how to get everything out was easy. Getting all the hoses unhooked was very easy. Getting the whole wash tub out with a single person was hard, and it's quite heavy, especially on this big machine. This is like the Titan or whatever. It's the 5.2. It's heavy, and I also left on the motor, the stator, and the rotor, which are also add weight to it. So getting off was hard. I did end up having another helper help me pull it out. And then I'll show you later, we have some ideas on how we're going to get it back more easily by tying some rope. There's some handles right here, which I think we will use, which should make it much easier than manhandling it back in. The shaft looks great. I cleaned it up with some emery cloth and degreaser and stuff. This bearing, the inner bearing, the bigger one, was what's bad. You can hear it's rattly, and that's what was causing the freight train noise every time it would spin. That's why we're doing this job. That's why you're probably here looking at this to do the job as well. The other bearing, the smaller one on the outside, that one actually still feels good, but I'm going to obviously replace both. I bought the Nachi bearings. Those seem to be the best. There's also someone that sells Taiwan bearings, TPI, and then there's a bunch of cheaper bearings. Now when I knock these out, you'll see these are the original LG bearings, and they're marked as China. And so they're probably the same as the $20 bearings that you get off of eBay or Amazon or whatever. These were put in, actually, the original bearings in this machine only lasted 3 years. And I actually had a warranty where they came out and they replaced a bunch of stuff. And the guy actually just ordered a whole new wash tub with the bearings in it and everything. And so now it's been 7 years on these bearings, and this inner bearing finally is going bad. What happens is the seal broke. There's water that got inside, and there's some grease that's sort of washed out, and then it's starting to probably rust the balls inside, and it's getting loud. So it's not actually dead yet, but you can definitely tell in the past few months it's very, very noisy. So it is time to change. So hopefully these new Japanese bearings, they're a little more expensive, but hopefully they'll last a long time. This is a painful job. It's not hard. It's just, it's a lot of stuff. So if you watch the videos, trust me, you can do it if you're a DIYer. Now the thing is, I've been trying to pound these bearings out, and I've been using this. This is what I had before. This is a 1.5 pound rubber mallet from Harbor Freight, and I was using this this extension as sort of a drift punch. And I will tell you, the smaller bearing was not moving at all. So I'm now going to try. I went to Harbor Freight and got this 4 pound dead blow. And I also got a punch, and I got a piece of iron pipe, and I'm going to try to work on, hopefully one of these things will work, and punch these things out. So back to you soon. Okay, we're back, and here's the lesson on hammers that I learned. I spent all last night trying to bang these stupid bearings out, and I first started with the rubber hammer in the middle, and then I went to Harbor Freight because that's only 1.5 pounds, and I got this 4 pound dead blow hammer. And I'd read on the internet that the dead blow hammer doesn't rebound, and it offers, it's also got this plastic face so it's non-marring, and I thought that would do the trick. But hammering, they were not moving at all. And I was using this punch, this really hard metal punch, and also a piece of black pipe that I bought. Nothing was moving. These extensions, nothing. So I looked a little further and realized that you need a metal head. So I went out today and bought this 4 pound metal engineer's hammer or mini sledgehammer. And I am so excited because in 2 minutes I punched the bearings out of each side with this metal hammer, not even swinging that hard. So the physics lesson is the metal hammer on the metal punch delivers all the force in an instant in terms of just a shock, and that's what it needs to get moving, just a shock. This hammer, even if it delivers the same force, because there's shot moving back and forth, and that's why it doesn't rebound, it delivers the force over a longer time, even if we're talking, fractions of a second. And so the peak shock force is not as much. So if you're going to try to do this job, don't make the mistake I did. Go get the frickin' metal hammer right away, and you'll be done in no time. Okay, tips and tricks on the LG WM8000. This was a real pain. I did the bearings replacement. I'll put a few other tips up as well. There are other videos that go through all of the disassembly, but getting this drum out and in is a pain, especially because I wanted to keep the washing machine in the laundry room and not unhook everything. You could unhook everything and try to wheel it out of your laundry room to a bigger area. We wanted to just get the drum out or the wash tub out and then be able to disassemble it. We found it's easier to keep the stator and rotor attached to the drum rather than taking it all off in the back. You can take it all off on the back. There's a bunch of different 10 millimeter bolts and things you can take off. That does take some of the weight out. A lot of the weight is still this metal drum, this metal wash tub, I mean. So coming back in, when we took the hooks off, you have to take these two hooks off on each side, and that's what holds everything in. Once you get these hooks on, you're golden. Then it's easy to attach the shock absorbers on the bottom and everything else. But getting this darn thing in here and getting these hooks on so it can hang is a pain. So we thought up this system using a bar. This is like, one of the things used for a paint roller or whatever, mop. Put some bungee cords over it, put a bunch of them in case they break. And then basically with my helper, we each lifted one end and sort of carried it over and swung it into the opening. And when you get to this front end, you're going to have all these bungee cords on this side. So you need to get some other ones that you can then loop through on the back side, and then release the front ones and then keep sliding it through. And then from there, at least it's hanging. It was still a little bit low, but at least it was hanging. And then we could each take our spring and take on one side and just lift it up at the same time and get it into these notches over there. So maybe that'll be helpful for someone else. This is the large. This is the Titan, the 8000 model, which is the larger one. So some of the videos I think you see on the internet are the smaller versions that may be a little bit lighter and a little bit smaller and easier to maneuver this beast. Good luck. Once you get your tub hanging from the two springs, then you're good. The first thing that I would do is put these counterweights back on, because otherwise the tub is it's heavy in the back with that rotor and stator. It keeps wanting to hang up. So if you get these counterweights on, then it's going to bring it back into a more normal position, and you're going to have an easier time attaching the shock absorbers, and you have to attach the drain hose. What I found was it's easier to just leave the bottom of the drain hose attached to the tub, as long as you can get the tub out cleanly without dragging it across everything here. That was the challenge, but this is the drain pump. You obviously don't want to drop something, slam down on that. But then you just have one connection here to make at the bottom. This hose can go into this drain pump. And then on mine, I have the turbo wash system, so it has these two other hoses here. that attach up onto the sides there. You have to touch those, to touch the shock absorbers, and then you have to touch a couple things up here. The inlet and this air and a few other things. And then on the back, you have to attach the stator, wiring. As I learned in some of the other videos, an easy way to get the top, there's a plastic pin in here on each of these shock absorbers. Easiest way to get it out, you're going to be pulling it from the front side with some pliers, but there's a little tab in the back. If you look at this, you can see there's a tab right here that needs to push through and then pop back up. So you can't just pull it straight out. You need to get that tab pushed down and released, and then you'll be able to easily pull it out from the side. So an easy way to do this is to take a 13mm deep socket and you stick it on the back of the pin and just push it forward until you hear a pop. And what that's doing is it's basically going to pop this pin for you, and then you can just easily pull it out. So another trick.